Hello, welcome once again to How to Do Stuff and Things. And today I'm going to show you how to clean and condition a pair of dirty leather work boots. In this case, these are my Nix Urban Loggers. I've been using these in my concrete work for about a year now. I probably last did a really deep clean and condition on these about 5 or 6 months ago. But it's getting to the time of year now where things are getting wetter, and so they could use a nice conditioning to make sure they hold up to the wetter weather. So what do you need to clean and condition a pair of leather work boots like this? Well, there are lots of different options, lots of different products out there. I do have some Feebings saddle soap, but I don't think the boots are dirty enough to require this time. That's for really, really ground in dirt. I have a very stiff nylon brush. This will come in useful. I have some Obernoff's leather oil. Now typically I use the Obernoff's leather oil in the summer when things are really dry and dusty, because their other leather conditioner, which I don't have, I can't find my actual Obernoff's, but I do have the Nix, which is Obernoff's, but it's just in paste form. Let me show you that. It's more of a thicker wax paste. And I don't use this in the summer very often because it's so dusty. This actually attracts a little bit of dust. But since we're getting into the wetter time of year, I think I am going to use the Obernoff's wax paste in the Nix version. It's the same stuff as opposed to the Obernoff's leather oil. I have 2 brushes that I use to daub the leather paste onto the boots. I have a horsehair brush for finishing. And then I have a wet rag for cleaning the dust off of the boots. So, I think we have everything we need. Let's get started. Okay, so first things first, we need to remove the laces, obviously. So we will do that. These are nice leather laces. They've been holding up really well. I've had them for over a year and they still don't seem like they need to be replaced. So let's yank them. We're gonna reuse them. We still have the tongue protectors here, or the kilties. We'll be cleaning these and conditioning these as well. You can see things are pretty dusty. They're not muddy or anything. So what I'm gonna do first is use my stiff nylon brush. Just make sure that any crusted on dirt is removed. Dirt and dust. Shouldn't be too bad. It's been summertime as I've been using these. The last time I conditioned these was late winter, right before spring. And since then, it's been mostly dry and dusty. So we haven't had a lot of mud or anything like that. But I'm just gonna remove all the loose and or crusty dirt. And I do this pretty regularly anyway. Usually at the end of the week, if I've been in mud or anything, I will remove it with this brush. But there's not too much on these. All right, a little bit of debris came off there. Now we're going to take our moist rag and we're just going to rub these down and get all that dirt off. If you're using saddle soap, you might get the leather a little bit more wet than you would be just using a wet rag like this. That's okay in certain situations. You don't want to just completely soak the leather, but they're more resistant to water than you would think, as long as you give them a chance to dry out properly at a good temperature. If you're not heating them to try to dry them, letting them just dry naturally on their own, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. So just get into all the little cracks and crevices, and try to clean out all the dirt that's hanging around. If you've got anything really stubborn, you could get a brush like this. I actually use this to daub on my conditioner, but if you had a clean brush like this, you could moisten it and really get into some of the seams, some of the stitching. I may do that today. Okay, now that they are both relatively clean, I'm going to give them a few minutes to dry out before we start conditioning. All right, the boots are almost dry enough. Make sure you do let them dry out completely because you don't want to put oil over damp leather. These guys are ready to condition, and we're going to use, like I said, this is the NYX boot cream, but it's actually Obanoff's. The exact same formula, just branded by NYX. I don't know what happened to my giant jar of Obanoff's. Like I said, I usually use their oil, their leather oil in the summer when it's really dusty. And then when it starts getting wetter, I use the wax or cream. So I'm just gonna get a little on my dauber. You could use a cloth for this as well, but I just usually use a dauber. And I just liberally, not too liberally, spread it on the leather. So the cream or the wax is thicker, a little stickier, but you want to give it a little bit of a chance to kind of penetrate. So once I put it on, I will just put these aside for a few minutes. By the time I'm done daubing it onto my boots, then these will be ready to brush off. Again, you could use a cloth to finish, but I typically use a horsehair brush, because that way it's a little easier to buff out some of the cuts and scratches that you might have gotten on your boots. So these can be put to the side. I'll show you. Speaking of scratches, we've got one right here. Where is that? Right there. That's pretty nasty. I'm hoping eventually as I condition these and brush them that will become less as time goes on. But all right, it's time to condition the boots. I usually start here in the tongue. I try to pull everything away and get a good amount on the backside of the eyelets. All those little crevices. You don't want to just cake it on, but you want to get full coverage. So just about like that. And then I'll do the rest of the upper around the hardware. Oop. Make sure I get into the seams. And I just work my way around the boot. Giving the heel counter. And last, I'll just get all the way around the edge. I'm not using any edge dressing or anything like that. I'm just going to use this leather cream. These were unfinished edges to begin with. I think they might have been brown, but they're pretty much natural now. Just make sure they get a little bit of conditioning because they can get dry and crack just like any other leather. All right, so that's a pretty even distribution of the conditioner slash paste, wax, whatever you want to call it. I may use a little dauber like this occasionally too if I really need to get in, but I think I've got everything pretty good. Make sure I'm all around the stitching. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I'll just put this one aside to dry or to penetrate into the leather while I do this one. All right, so both boots have been cleaned and conditioned. Now we just need to brush them off for the final finishing. We've got our false tongues / kilties / tongue protectors here. They are ready to be brushed. Kind of hard to do these because they're so floppy, but basically you're just rubbing away the excess oil. Pretty self-explanatory. So there's one. It's getting a little pitted around the eyelet holes here, but I think these could last for, I don't know, another year maybe before I have to replace these. I probably should have made sure I remembered which one went in which shoe. I think this was the right shoe because they sort of conformed to the shape of my tongues and my feet. So there you go. 2 conditioned kilties ready to go. This is the one that I did the conditioner on first, and it is pretty, it's still slightly sticky to the touch, but I think it's ready to actually get the brush on it now. So again, you're just rubbing off the excess conditioner. You're not going for a high shine on this. I just use the brush because to me it's a little easier to get into all the nooks and crannies when I'm trying to get the conditioner off, especially around the eyelets and the hardware and everything. You just don't want a lot of that excess conditioner, especially when you're using the Obanoff's cream as opposed to the oil, because it can get kind of sticky. It does dry eventually, but it can attract dust and dirt. And there's what it's starting to look like. These aren't going to look brand new. And I don't really care if they look brand new. These are work boots. I use them for work. I treat them rough. I just want them to last. Looks are secondary. So working my way around. Now just inside the tongue. Or inside the eyelets, I guess. Kind of hard to get in there. There you go. That is a cleaned and conditioned NYX Urban Logger. Boots that I've been using for work. Like I said, it's been about 5 or 6 months since I last conditioned these. And I'd say they're still looking pretty good. So I just need to finish up the other one, put my kilties and my laces back in. And there you go. These boots have been cleaned and conditioned. I used a stiff nylon brush to clean off the loose dirt, a damp cloth to wipe them down, let them dry off a little bit, and then used NYX / Obanoff's boot cream to condition, and finally I rubbed them with this horsehair brush. Gave them a nice buffing with that. They are a little sticky still. It'll take a while for this stuff to really work its way in and dry. Like I said, I typically use the Obanoff's cream in the winter when things are wetter, and I use the leather oil in the summer when things are drier and dustier. The Obanoff's will darken your leather, for sure. So if that bothers you, that's probably not the product that you want to use. There are more neutral boot creams out there, but I really like the protection it offers, and it's really long lasting as well. Beautiful. And that's how you clean and condition dirty leather work boots. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your good friend Bradley. This has been How to Do Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.